What's up, everybody? This is Kyle D, better known as Universities or RideMyAvatar, depending on what content you are looking for Union Arena or Digimon trading card game. Today we're on Rick's channel again. He is making us have a good time here. But we have RogueWind teaching me a new card game that is called Riftbound. RogueWind is one of the senseis in Rick's Discord that teaches card games for, just to get you guys into the habits of playing the game. So RogueWind will be teaching me how to play this fabulous game that is coming out called Riftbound. So, introduce yourself, RogueWind.
I think you did just a fantastic job of it, Kyle. Yeah, I teach. I'm a teacher by day, and I'm a trading card enthusiast by night, and that's kind of morphed into me teaching trading cards. So, I never thought I would get such a fantastic job, but here we go. Are you ready, Kyle?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Riot, let's go. So, do you have your deck in front of you?
One, I want to see what you're cooking with, because we don't know what the cards are. I don't know what these are, at the end of the day. So we're going to let you describe what each and every card is and stuff like that. Use your deck would be the optimal.
Sure. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what's the goal of the game? So me and you are going to play a game where we put creatures onto the battlefield, we play spells, and we try to reach 8 points before the other player. Does that sound like something simple you could do?
I mean, counting 8 is simple as Infected Magic, where I only have to count to 10 while everybody else plays a game of 20.
Exactly. And the thing about this game compared to Magic is that in Magic, there's all kinds of ways to win. You can win in the air by dealing burn damage. You can win by having an overwhelming board of creatures. You can have by having one creature that's basically unkillable. You can do things like play combos where you play 20 spells and then they end the game. And in this game, those type of things don't happen. So the only way to get a point is to hold a battlefield, which are these things here. And we'll talk more about these, but basically, we're going to be doing battle at battlefields. And if we take control of a battlefield, we gain a point. And if we hold on to a battlefield, we get a point.
So these are like in Riftbound, because it is based off of League of Legends. These are the
Lane.
the lanes. Yep. So
exactly, they're the lanes. And in a multiplayer, we'd play 3 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just get into it. There's going to be a few cards that start on the battlefield, a few of them. So how are we going to basically play this game? How are we going to summon creatures? How are we going to play spells in order to get to these 8 points? I don't even have a creature out, so how am I going to get a point?
Yep.
Let's start with all the things that start on the battlefield. There are going to be 2 battlefields that start on the battlefield. There's going to be one of my battlefield that probably generate me a good effect. And there's going to be one of your battlefields that probably grant you an advantageous effect.
Okay.
So the other thing that we start with is every deck starts with a legend. And so your legend card basically will dictate what kind of spells and what kind of runes you can play. So I have today Herald of the Arcane, who is based on Victor.
Okay.
And he can play blue runes, which are called mind runes, and he can play yellow runes, which are order runes. Okay. This means that in my deck, I can only have blue and yellow spells. Whether it be creatures, whether it be gears, and we'll talk about all those things.
Okay.
I'm going to play those things using what are called rune cards. And different from Magic, my rune deck is going to sit aside from my main deck. So
very Force of Will-esque card.
It's very Force of Will. So instead of, you make sure you have the mana. It's just like One Piece. It's just like Force of Will. The mana is going to be there for you. You don't have to worry about getting flooded. You don't have to worry about getting mana screwed.
Yep.
We'll say. And it's very, 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 very interesting game. So let's get into it.
So tell me a little bit about the legend itself, because again, there has to be a reason why you want to pick some of these legends, how their interactions work, stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about Victor himself.
I picked this legend, Herald of the Arcane, and the reason I picked him is that he just has overwhelming board presence. He can win fast, so I always love my decks to be able to go in a little bit quick. but also be able to play the long game. And I feel like Herald of the Arcane can do that. So Herald of the Arcane goes along with the Champion Victor. This is the way that I play it. So I play Champion Victor, and what this one does is whenever another non-recruit token or non-recruit unit I control dies, then I place a recruit token. So for example, let me show you a little small combo that you can do with some of the cards. And then there's a few reasons. It's not just the token ability. I mean, Victor has access to one of the most busted removal spells in the game that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Okay. And that's his special spell?
And that's the whole thing. It's not just his special spell. You know what? We'll get to it right now. It's called Hidden Blade. Anyways, more on this card later. But this card is all you need to do is play yellow and you can play Hidden Blade.
Okay.
So we'll get into that. But anyways, more about the making tokens, etc., etc. So for example, you have Soaring Scout. When this dies, it has this thing called Death Knell. It has an activated ability, a triggered ability called Death Knell. Channel 1 Rune Exhausted. So when this dies, I will get to ramp a rune, which is basically the energy in this game. And there are two different ways to talk about energy and power. We'll talk about what those are, but there's two basically costs. And when this dies, it creates a token. So you didn't lose the body, and you got to ramp one. So there's a lot of resiliency there. And this only works, though, if you actually have casted your champion card. So usually when you play Victor, you cast your champion card, you leave it in your base so that it's protected, and then every time you send something out to battle, even when it dies, you produce a token. So you're doing a lot of damage. Say, for example, Cruel Patron, you're gaining points and you're holding battlefields in the early games and the mid games, and then in the late games, when Volibear and Jinx have killed all your stuff, you still have all these recruit tokens left. And then you go in for the kill. Ride, let me explain. You have, let's just say I had 2 tokens, okay? Let's just say I have 2 tokens left. After I've been stomped out by Volibear, after I've taken a Mega Death Rocket, after all those things have happened, I still have these tokens, in my base. And so what I will do, what I will do is either one of 2 things. I can do a baby version of this thing, which is Siphon Power, or I can do Grand Stratagem. Now I want to see if this is the one that you were talking about. Grand Stratagem is still just a yellow spell. So let me give you the math here, partner, before we talk about the game, and this is why I would like to play the Herald of Arcane and Victor Legend and Champion package. So you have 2 1/1 tokens. Yep. And then I play Grand Stratagem. Grand Stratagem will give them +5 each. So that would make a 6 and a 6. That's with 2 recruit tokens, you can give them 12 power in total for that battlefield. And that beats out the strongest power, the strongest might. This is might. 1 is their might. And then when this gives them a buff, it gives them +5 might. And that's what you calculate at battlefield. So we'll talk more about that. But basically, I'm going to take my numbers and I'm going to throw them at your numbers. And then we're going to see who ends up on top and takes the battlefield. Highest number wins.
Okay.
So with 2 tokens and Grand Stratagem, you can make these larger than the largest monster in the game, which is Volibear. Okay. So, and that's their legend spell that they play. That's one of their legends. They bring out Big Volibear. He does 5 damage to a unit deals 5 damage to the field when you move to a battlefield before any damage calculation is done. He can remove creatures before you guys even clash. Anyways, more on that. Do you feel like you have would you like to get into how we're going to do step-by-step turns?
Yes. Explain a turn for me.
Sure. Let's just get it all started up. First thing we'll do is we'll do board setup. You know what? Maybe we'll talk. So look, I just want to do a recap real quick. We've talked about our legends. Let me explain. This is the basis. This is the heart and soul of the deck, and this is what your deck is all based around: the colors and based about this interaction of creating tokens. Mm-hmm. The preferred legend to play with that, the preferred champion to play with that is this Victor. Okay, These are going to start out on the battlefield. We discussed battlefields. Sorry, they're going to start out on the board, we'll say. Then we discussed battlefields, and those are going to start out on the board. But you're going to play one from your deck at random, your battlefield deck. You keep your battlefields 3, you shuffle up, and then you play a random one. So you would I'd put one of my battlefields, and you'd put one of your battlefields. One of my favorite battlefields is the one that gives all my recruits +1. Here it is right here. Trifarian War Camp. Units here have +1 might. So the more units I have there, the more I'm going to get that buff because it stacks. Are you following me so far, Riot?
Yes.
Are there any questions before I move on?
Nope.
Okay. The other things that start on your deck. Oh, I should mention. This comes out of your deck. So I could start it. I start it with in my deck, all my champions in my deck. These are part of the board state as when you begin. Your legend will go in the legend zone. Your battlefield will begin in its proper location once you and your opponent have put those out. And your runes, all of your runes will be shuffled and your rune deck will be placed onto the board. That's before we start anything. Mm-hmm. After that, then I will go into my deck and I will choose a champion. So it has to be Victor. It has to have the same name as my legend. But I have 2 different Victors that I can use. I have this Victor, the one that produces tokens when I die, or when it dies.
Okay.
I think there should be another Victor. I know there's another Victor available, but whether or not it came in the starter deck, I guess I don't know. So there's all 3 of my Victors. You know what? Maybe it didn't.
No.
Maybe
most likely it doesn't give you all the busted.
Let me just check. Let me just do a real quick check. Because when it was revealed to have multiple. Basically everyone has two ones they can pick. Jinx has 2 she can pick from. Bully Bear has 2 that he can pick from, a 10 cost and a 12 cost. It doesn't matter. This is the one we want, so we won't even stress about that. Okay, so we'll grab that out of the deck, we'll put it on the field, and then we'll shuffle up.
Okay.
We'll obviously let our opponent cut or tap, just like in any other card game, if you're familiar with any card games, which means that we're going to make sure our opponent has the chance to...
So wait, you get to actually keep one of your legends off to the side?
Absolutely, that's right here. Did I put it off the screen?
Sorry.
So here's your legend off to the side, boom, ready to go. So
basically you get your leader legend, and then you get one of your main characters.
You know what it's like, Ride? It's like making sure, Riot Games wanted to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see their boss monster, right? We don't want to have this, we want to have a good battle. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that you get to choose a battlefield that is advantageous to you.
So, so you start with the legend off the bat next to your actual legend generator?
Yeah, exactly. So you have a legend, which is, like I said, the heart and the soul of the deck, and then you have your champion. Kyle, Ride, this is like your boss monster. Okay. So Riot Games wanted to make sure, hey, we're definitely going to see our boss monster. We're definitely going to see our mana or our energy to play games. And we're going to have a battlefield that at least has an advantageous effect for us. Okay. So that's what we started with. That's what we started with.
Okay.
All right. So let's just say I started a game. My opponent's already shuffled and cut my deck. We are going to, hey, everything's on the board. When you first start your turn, first start the game, we're going to each draw 4 cards. Okay. We'll talk about the card types here in a second. I've got a few of them. Okay, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to, here, I'll just get that out right now. Would you rather go, let me just show you the flow of the turn rather than the card types. We can talk about those a little bit later, but let's just show how it goes. You start 4 cards.
Yep.
The mulligan rule is that you can choose 2 of those cards, recycle them, and in this game, recycle means put to the bottom of the deck. And we will recycle from different decks, so remember what that means. Recycle means we put to the bottom of the deck. I'm going to put these 2 stupefies on the bottom of my deck because
I lost you for a second there, Rogue.
I want to send these 2 back. I just don't feel like Stupefy is a very useful spell right now, and I don't need it until a battle starts to really heat up. So basically what this does is it gives a unit -1, and if I do that, then I get to draw 1 card.
Okay.
So it cycles through your deck. It helps you get to different cards, get to your pieces. But right now, I just don't feel like it's the most powerful thing moving forward. I have 2 monsters, 2 things that I can push to battlefields and gain points, and the other one being a really strong boss monster that can remove anything from the board. So the versatility is just godly. I put those 2 cards at the bottom, and I'm going to draw 2 new cards.
Okay.
And both of them are going to be monsters. Okay. So at the beginning of every turn, we have the Awaken phase. Awaken takes all items that are exhausted and restands them. Everything is returned to an active position. Then we have Beginning. The beginning phase is when we would calculate points for holding a battlefield. If I had kept this control of this battlefield without you challenging my monster and taking him out of the battlefield by combat, then I would gain a point for holding on to that battlefield. And the beginning step of the game or the beginning step of the turn is where we would do that. Okay. So that's what the beginning phase is. It's like the upkeep step, or it's like the standby phase, or the ready phase. Different games call it different things. But it's that window in the game where very specific and special actions take place before the main. Okay, now we have channel. Do you see how there's a pattern here? Awaken, beginning, channel. And the next one's called draw. A, B, C, D. So channel is we take 2 runes from the top of our rune deck and we place them active onto our board.
Okay.
I will not draw my first turn because I'm going first. However, let me point out, on your turn per se, you would draw 3 runes to your rune deck, and you would draw a card on your draw step.
Okay.
So the second player has a little bit of a, I don't know what you would call it.
Advantageous. Even though they're claiming that going first, you gain a moderately decent advantage. The extra ruin definitely seems like it's a very big benefit.
Right. So let me explain it. Let's just say okay, I'm started my turn, 2 runes. Now, what I can do is, as long as the symbol is just a number, all I have to do is exhaust runes. All I have to do is tap these sideways, as long as it's only a number. However, if it were a number and a symbol, for example, on this one here, the Machine of Angel, there is a symbol that says 5, and under it there is what is called a power cost. So the 5 is what is known as the energy cost, and energy costs only require you to exhaust cards. To basically say, I've used them for the turn, I can no longer use them for the turn unless something restands them. But the power cost, let me explain. I need to have a yellow rune, and even if that rune is tapped, so let's say if I wanted to play this card, so for example, it's cost 5. It costs 5, and I also have to pay 1 yellow power. So that means I have to exhaust 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I have to recycle. That's what the power cost is. I have to recycle, and I'm going to get that going. I'm going to recycle that back to the bottom of my deck. Sorry about the glare, but the light was just not the business. It was coming out. So now I have played this character, and this character says, Death Now, when he dies, play 3 1 might recruit unit tokens into your base. So even after he dies, he's going to make you 3 tokens, and then you can still come up with and makes them crazy big, and then you get to end games with it. And that's not a signature spell like you were asking about, Ride, but it is the spell that you kind of want to end the game with. I mean, it's very, very, very helpful.
Yes.
I just think the tokens are overwhelming. I think It's also, this deck makes it very disheartening for your opponent to remove your creatures because they are removing threats from the battlefield, but those threats are very resilient because they're keeping recruit tokens around. So even if this thing gets killed, even if this, and it's literally what it's called in this game, not destroyed, not exiled, it's killed. When I am killed, which is what this card says, make 3 tokens to my base.
Okay.
Not quick, because my tokens are still at my base, but then that allows me to take these tokens, move them to where I need to be, activate the Grand Stratagem, take control of that battlefield with 3 little small 1 might creatures. It's very, very... This deck is very resilient and can go the long game and can also take people by surprise early.
Okay.
It's not, so let me just preface, it is not the fastest aggro deck and probably shouldn't be played as aggro, but you can go, and what I mean is you can go under your opponent, which means you can go a little bit faster than your opponent and take the game. Or if your deck is more of the slower deck compared to if you're playing against an aggro deck, for example, like Jinx, you can just go just a little bit slower than them, but outdo their board, right? You can either go bigger, or you can go faster. That is for every card game that's out there. You can go bigger or you can go faster. But going smaller and going slower is obviously not going to work for any strategy, right? So you have 2 avenues. I can either beat you before you come online, or I can go a little bit slower and just kind of counter you, tempo you. You played a creature, I play the removal spell.
Okay.
Then I just start slowly gaining points, and I believe that this deck is really, really good at that. Is there any other questions that you have before we get into card types and how they'll kind of help move your...
No, you've been on point explaining everything. Keep it up.
Sweet. So we have our monsters, right? And as a matter of fact, I should quickly just say, let's say, if I forgot about this before we get into cards. When I'm at my base, I must play everything to my base.
Okay.
Then and I should show this card. When I play things to my base, I have to wait. They come in exhausted. Once they are ready on my next beginning step into a battlefield, and then I immediately gain a point.
Okay.
Because I've taken control of that battlefield.
I thought, I thought you had to win it in a challenge, you get a point.
Well, that's the funniest thing, is that there is what is called a challenge, and then there is what is called a non-combat challenge. And you get to gain points either way when you advance into a battlefield. So I had a non-combat challenge, and I took control of this battlefield, and I gain a point.
Okay.
And you say that's busted. There's no way that you get to just play something to your battlefield and then you just gain a point, because nothing occurred. There was no interaction. It was just easy advance and take a point. I understand, Ride, that doesn't really make a logical sense, but here's why it works in this game. Don't you also have a battlefield?
Yes.
So then you are allowed to, hey, the tempo of the game like this, Ride, is going to go, I'm going to go take my battlefield. And then on your turn, you are likely to go and take your own battlefield.
Gotcha.
How does that sound?
Gotcha.
So I get a point, you get a point, fine, no problem. The other thing you can do is I can play to a battlefield, I'll gain a point. It can come to your turn, you can go and gain your point, or you can challenge my battlefield, and if you are successful and you kill my creature and you are still remaining, you can gain a point, effectively stopping me from gaining a point. The other thing that you could do at the start of your game is I will go grab my point. You will go grab your point. On the beginning of my phase of my turn, I will gain another point. And then I will either have to attack you and take your battlefield, or I will pass, still upholding my battlefield, and maybe bolstering it to be bigger, and we'll talk about how that happens. And at the same time, you might be getting your battlefield all big and bolstering that, and we'll just gain points alongside each other until in the very end we'll have to clash.
Okay.
I mean, it can happen like that. But the idea, I think, is that I will play something to battlefield, Look, it's like basketball. On my turn, when I have the ball, do you play basketball? Do you know about the basic mechanics?
No. Okay. Not a sport junkie.
That's okay. I'm gonna have the tempo. If I play, so let's just talk about it in cards. If I play first and you play second, and we played essentially the same cards, wouldn't I win technically, theoretically speaking, because all my things came out first and all my things attacked first? Theoretically, just theoretically, if we took all the variants out of it and we said play for play, what's going to happen? Then I control the tempo as the first player. It is up to the other player to take the tempo from me and disrupt the tempo. So if I'm going 1 point me, 1 point you, 1 point me, 1 point you. Do you see how that's a tempo? Dot, pop, pop, back and forth, back and forth.
Yes.
Okay. The name of the game is to disrupt the tempo. I'm play a battle. So this is what I'd like for you to try and do. I'm going to play a monster to my battlefield. On your turn, you're going to play a bigger monster to my battlefield, my same battlefield that I was holding. You're going to kill mine, and you're going to gain the point.
Gotcha.
If I don't challenge your monster, what's going to happen on your next turn?
I gain a point.
You're going to gain a point. So it is up to me to take the tempo from you, gain my point. So the way to victory is to make sure that the tempo ends up in your favor. So if you went first, make sure that you keep the tempo and you keep on the up and up, and that you keep your opponent on the back foot. Are these things that sound familiar to you?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Should I re-explain it? Okay.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
If I stay in control, if I'm the first player, I need to stay in control and not let you get control. And the way that the second player should do this, and I'm just talking about theoretically, not technically, we'll get into all that, is by always one-upping what I do or disrupting me so that I missed one of my points and that you get 2 points in a row or 3 points in a row and put me back on the back foot, essentially taking the tempo for yourself.
Okay.
Taking the tempo control for yourself. Okay. So let's get into just the different types of cards. There's just a few different things that you should know. Obviously, we've talked about creatures, monsters, recruits, what do you want to call it? Then we have these things called reactions.
Okay.
And actions. Let me find this. So Stupefy is a reaction. Siphon Power is a reaction. Unchecked Power has no distinction. Seal of Unity is we need to talk about Seal of Unity. Does that say action? Nope, that's reaction, which is really good. And then, hold on, this. Victor has an action. Where is it at? Action. Here we go. Okay. Okay, we need to talk. So we have monsters. The thing about monsters is they come to the base, they come exhausted. When they're ready, they may move to battlefields. You may not move from battlefield to battlefield. If you're in a battlefield and you want to go to the other battlefield, you have to come back to base first and then move to the next battlefield. There is an ability to get out of this. I don't want to complicate it. Just that's basically.
So can you move from location back, or is there a mechanic that prevents you from moving, like going to the next?
As long as your character is ready and not exhausted, you may move it back, and then essentially you won't have anything there to gain the point on the next turn. But you're allowed to move things back to your base to save them.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah. So
but
on your main stage,
does doing that moving, does that suspend your character?
It does. It does cost you because you can't keep using your character and do all kind of crazy things. If you move, it exhausts. If you move back, it exhausts. If you use ganking, it exhausts. Ganking is the ability that allows you to go from battlefield to battlefield directly. If you do that, it exhausts.
Okay.
If you use a card, generally speaking, you turn it sideways to say, I've used that resource for the turn.
Okay.
Okay. We talked about him having the best removal package in the game. We'll get there. Let's talk about this gear.
Okay.
A gear is something like an artifact, like an enchantment, like field spell, like Stadium in Pokemon, like what's in Digimon, Ride? That stays on the board and has an ability.
Memory boosts and trainings, delay options. Tamers.
Sure, okay. Tamers, thank you. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic example. Okay. When I play this, it's on my base. It stays on my base. It is actually played to the ready phase, so I can use it straight away. For example, this is called Seal of Unity. So Seal says reaction, which means I can activate it at any time when there's a window of activation. I can use it, and then I can use it to add an order rune to my resource pool. But what it means is it doesn't give me extra energy. What it means is I don't have to recycle. It doesn't give me extra energy. It gives me extra power. It just means that I can pay the 5, and then when I go to recycle the rune, because I have to pay the recycle cost, the power cost, instead of recycling the rune back to my deck and not having that as a resource for next turn, I can tap this instead. So gears, this is just what this gear does, but gears stay on your battlefield and provide effects that you can use often once per turn that you tap, that you exhaust as an ability.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have, so those are all what are considered permanents, right? We have our legend, we have our legend, we have our champion, we have our battlefield, we have our monsters, we have our gears. Those are all permanents. So when I play those, they stay on the battlefield unless something removes them. But when we play spells, actions, and reactions, all of those will get immediately used. They'll be placed onto the chain, and once they are resolved, that card will immediately go into the trash.
Okay.
There's a difference between each of these, and their power level is kind of built into what their timing is. So unchecked power is not a monster. It's not a creature or a recruit. It's just a spell that you use to say exhaust all friendly units. So I have to tap down everything that I own, but I get to deal 12 to all units at all battlefield.
Crazy.
So basically it's a board wipe. But I can't just play it whenever you play a card and then I say, gotcha, you activated my trap card. I can only play it on my main phase. Nothing else.
Gotcha.
But yes, I can only play this on my main phase. Okay. So when I play this on my, let me not get ahead of myself. All right. So I play this on my main phase. I activate it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. Boom.
Yes. All right. The next thing we'll talk about is an action. This action is a little bit higher speed. So this spell is a very slow speed. You can only play it during your main phase. It's just like a regular spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just like a land in Magic, etc., etc. Okay. For a sorcery, let's say a sorcery, you can only spend, there's plenty. I played them all, guys. I played them all. Then you have an action. An action can be played at a special timing. I may play it on my turn. I can play an action during my main phase, like, duh. And I can play an action during combat. The difference is that this is almost similar to, I don't know what you would call it in any other game that you know, but this is like a quick play spell. It's not necessarily an instant, because in an instant you can play anywhere. And we'll talk about what that is. In this game, instants, like you'd hear in Magic, are reactions.
Gotcha.
Or traps are reactions. Okay, so let's just say, let's do Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's do Magic, okay? Magic is a sorcery spell speed. This would be like, I don't even know. Like, let's just say if you could play combat, but you can only do it on your turn. It'd be like an instant, but you can only play it on your turn. Okay. And then can be played during any time. Reaction can be played just like a trap card during any time. It's like an instant. Then if we're doing Yu-Gi-Oh, it's spell speed 1, sorcery. Spell speed 2, quick play spell. Spell speed 3, trap. The fastest spell speed that there is. Well, the spell speed 4, counter trap, but we don't have that. I hope that was understood by everyone that's paying attention to me. And I know this is long-winded, but we'll get to it. So let's just give an example. When I go to on my turn, if I go to play a recruit and I go and initiate combat, I am allowed to hold priority. We've all heard of that. I'm allowed to hold priority and play an action.
Okay.
I'm also allowed to hold priority and play a reaction.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's going to be a change. So let me give you an example. Well, no, let me tell you what else you cannot do. If it was not my turn, I cannot play an action. Because it's not my turn. Actions can only be played on your turn. So I cannot play an action. I cannot play an action on my turn. But you can play an action on your turn. There is this window. There is this specific window, and it's very in the rule box. It says the way that it works is like this. I go to initiate battle. I basically have a window to activate spells and abilities that have action and reaction on it. If I choose to play an action, then you, when I pass priority to you, and what this is called is focused priority. If we're in combat phase and we have a stack going, it's called focused priority. So I'm going to keep my focused priority. I'm going to play an action. I'm going to pass priority. Now, because I played an action, you can only play reactions. You can only play reactions. And you can play as many reactions as you want, but you cannot play action speed spells. Okay. But you may play, so there's this crazy window. There's this crazy window where if I go to battle and I pass priority, focus priority, and I do not play an action, it is up for debate whether or not you have the ability to play an action spell because no action had yet been played. So there might be a window where the opponent can play the non-player turn. The non-player person can play an action if the player, the priority player, does not play an action. That's out for debate. I've been doing my research, but it seems odd. I think there's a few keywords in the word action. I want to say that action says can only be played on your turn as part of the ruling. But the chain will go like this. Play a battle card. I'll play an action. You play a reaction. Okay. Then I play a reaction, and then I play a whole bunch of reactions. Yay. Okay. And I play this on top. Whatever. Okay. The stack is going to resolve backwards. So this was last on the stack. It resolves. This stupefy will resolve. Go to the yard. This stupefy will resolve. Go to the yard. You casted Siphon Power in response to my Hidden Blade. This will resolve and go to the yard. My Hidden Blade will finally resolve and do its thing. Anytime that chain is resolving, so let's put it back. Anytime that chain is resolving, which is crazy, it's pretty funny. Watch this. So let's just say chain is resolving, cards are coming off the stack, and then my card's about to activate. Did you know, Ride, that you can still activate an instant even though the chain is already resolving? I mean, a reaction.
Interesting. No.
You can still, so you're like, look, all these effects have taken place, and now I think I want to play one more reaction. This is because the reason you can interrupt again with a reaction is because before my spell resolves, priority passes back to you. Okay, so that is basically how the stack resolves. And then, you know what, dude? I didn't even talk to you about well, actually, I did give a little bit about combat.
Yes.
So I guess let's give a quick example. Like I talked about mechanics, I talked about very deep thinking when it came to trading card games in general, but I didn't really give a full example of something that may occur. Okay, so let me see how deep I can make this.
I don't want it too deep, dude. I'm sorry, but we ain't going down that rabbit hole.
All right, let's just say no. That's not. I need to do like an action. That's funny. I need to do like action, reaction, like that kind of whole deal.
Okay.
I only have like, okay, so let's see. This could work. Okay. Sure, so let's say I've got, okay, whatever. Let's say I've got the mechanical, you've got a big dragon at your battlefield. Let's say you've got a big dragon at your battlefield. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cool deal, cool deal. My Machine Evangel just became ready. So my Machine Evangel, let me just get us some runes. My Machine Evangel just became available. I've got all my runes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Yes.
When I... Not that one, I can't do that one. Where's it at? Where's my... Hold on. Okay,
as time go on, everybody, he will get better at being able to find his cards.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I'm frantic. Yeah, I'm crazy. First time. Okay, you've got a big dragon at base, and I want to go in and play Machine Evangel. Okay, so then I know that I'm not going to be able to. Kill your Harness Dragon with just my Machine Evangel. So what I can do is I will go to combat, and then I will play this action, and that action is going to attempt to kill your Harness Dragon.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess it's a very poor example. Oh, actually.
And in this game, damage doesn't stay on the creature, right? It kind of falls off if the combat ends, as long as damage, as let's say your creature survives, the damage doesn't stick permanently.
Right. So, well, and that's the thing, dude. They immediately heal. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So
yeah, it's like in League of Legends, when you finally get undercover, you start healing.
Right, exactly. So let's say you have Machine Evangelist. Okay. And then I go up to play Harness Dragon. So let's say I have my 6 might, and you have your 4 might. So what's going to happen is my 6 might is going to be distributed in any way I like to all the units that are here. Since this is the only unit, I'm going to take all the 6 might and put it onto this unit.
Okay.
When this unit's might goes below 0, it dies. Okay, so that it only has 4 might. It was dealt 6, it dies. Here's a perfect example. Your Machine Evangel is going to die at 4. Mine is going to take 4 damage.
Okay.
So let's say that we want to try and turn the tide here a little bit. So I might do something as silly as this. You might do something as silly as this. Let me bring this. As things stand now, this 6 damage is going to be dealt to the 4, and I'm going to keep control of the battlefield. Mm-hmm. But what my opponent might do, or what I might do, is if I know the Machine Evangelist is going to die, maybe I'll play some reactions to try and turn the tide. Okay. So for example, if I know I'm only dealing 4, I might go something to the effect of Stupefy. Do you have any response? You'd say yes or no, but let's just say you said no. And then I say, good, I'm going to do another Stupefy. And then I say, do you have a response? You say no, and then I say, good, because I'm going to do another. I'm going to recycle this one, Siphon Power. So let's see what will happen. Siphon Power is going to say, choose units at my base, give it +1. Let me see exactly. Choose a battlefield, give friendly units there +1 and enemy units there -1. So now I have +5 and they have I have 5 might and they have 5 might. So now we're at least even. Okay. I gained 1, they lost 1. Right. Now I'm going to do this spell that says give a unit -1. So I'm going to give them 1 -1. So that's going to go from 5 to 4. Then it's going to go from 4 to 3 after this stupefy results.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is now I'm at a 5, they're at a 3. Their dragon that tried to engage in combat with me is actually going to die, and I'm going to maintain control of the battlefield. Also, I was dealt 6. I was only dealt 3 damage, so that my might, I'm going to have 3 damage on me, and it's up to my opponent to try and deal me 2 more damage on the stat. So if I had this, if it was the other way around, and I had 1, let's just say it was like this. Let's do it again where I show you. So we have Mechanical Evangelist versus Harness Dragon, 6 versus 4. Let's just say that the ties turn like this. The Machine Evangel plays the Siphon Power and the Stupefy. So he's going to get a buff of +2 essentially, and this is going to get down -1. So I'm going to have 6 to 5. So you know, as the Harness Dragon player, you know you have 5, they have 6, and you want to try and kill their unit. You could play your own Stupefy on them in reaction. So look, now you're -1, now I'm +1, now you're -1, etc., etc. So now they'd both be at 5 and they'd both die. But here's why the Victor deck is so good. So but here's the thing: if I have my legend out, yeah, their Harness Dragon killed. We traded. That's true. We traded. But if you have your Victor out, not only is the Machine Evangelist going to make his own tokens, 3 of them at your base, but this Victor is going to make another token because your guy died. So you still have bodies when they have no dragon.
Wow.
Oh, anyway, yes. So is there anything I missed, Kyle? Are there Ride? Is there questions you have?
No, you gave a very sound explanation.
I know. So then in the next video, we're going to have to play a match, and I'll have to it would be good for us to recover. So let me just kind of recap the way it works. It's, you have a deck based off of your champion and your legend, and that tells you what kind of runes you can play. You take a whole bunch of monsters, you throw them at battlefields, you use spells to turn the tide of battle, you gain 8 points, you win.
Okay.
And that is Riftbound TCG, definitely not in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, RogueWind, for giving a very sound explanation and everything like that.
Dude, it was so fun. I really appreciate you. I know I'm long-winded. I've got a lot to talk about. I hope you guys understood and saw the passion that I have for trading card games, even through my nerves.
Yeah, no, you gave a lot of good explanation, and you can find him actually doing it in Rick's Discord, teaching, coaching whenever you need it. So hit up RogueWind when you need it. It does help him out. Guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.